welcome to the Webcast for Wednesday, January 29th. I'm South Ops meteorologist Jonathan O'Brien. Visible satellite this morning shows we have a fairly deep marine layer in place. The cloud pattern is a little ragged, but low clouds are present in a number of coastal valley, and even coastal slope areas. These will gradually decrease in coverage today, but will probably be pretty stubborn to break up, at least through the morning. Cloud cover associated with our recent storm system has moved mainly into the desert southwest this morning. Today will be a very quiet weather day, and you can throw tomorrow in too for that matter, since it will pretty much be an exact copy. Temperatures will remain several degrees below normal through Thursday, with upper 50s to mid-60s for most coastal, valley, and high desert areas, and 30s and 40s in the lower mountains. Minimum humidity will be mainly above 30% away from the drier deserts today and tomorrow, with continued good overnight recoveries, and winds will remain light and mainly onshore. Nothing too interesting happens with the weather until this weekend. By then we'll see a strong ridge of high pressure attempt to build in out of the subtropics, while at the same time a deep polar trough drives its way into the Pacific Northwest. This clash of two very different air masses is going to bring significant storminess to the west coast by the end of this week and into next. As that subtropical ridge builds in, a warming trend is likely from Friday through the weekend, with 70s returning to many of the valleys by this weekend. Here's a look at Sunday's forecast highs. We'll also likely see some uptick in westerly winds over the mountain ridges and desert passes by this weekend and early next week. The main question mark in the forecast is with the potential for precipitation. Right in between those two battling air masses, we will see a strong atmospheric river develop over the Pacific by the end of this week. And that atmospheric river will move ashore on the west coast and bring periods of heavy precipitation well into next week. What's uncertain is exactly where and when the heaviest axis of rainfall will develop. As it looks now, rain may overspread central California north of a Monterey-Fresno County line as early as Friday. Periods of rain, heavy at times, are then likely over much of central and/or northern California through at least Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. Meanwhile, as it looks now, Southern California should remain mostly dry through about Tuesday, and then by the middle of next week, some precipitation is likely, but lighter amounts are currently favored for Southern California with a low but present risk of some heavier totals. But as we often see in these atmospheric river events, wherever that heavy rainfall axis sets up is really going to get slammed. Here is the latest rainfall forecast from the River Forecast Center through Monday night. The potential exists for at least several inches of liquid equivalent precipitation from the Central Sierra northward and across west-adjacent foothills during this event. You can see how widespread the 6-inch or greater expected rainfall amounts up north are. This will be a real deluge for North Ops' area, but they do need some rain up there as it has really dried out after the exceptionally wet start to the season that they had. It's also worth mentioning that snow levels will be quite high, at least to start with this system, likely above 8,000 feet. Here are the forecast freezing levels by Sunday morning. Those yellow, orange, and red colors are all 8 to 10,000 foot or greater snow levels. The snow levels should gradually fall by the middle of next week, but overall this will probably go down as a pretty warm storm with prospects for any significant snow below about 7,000 feet looking pretty slim right now. We'll see some gradual drying in the dead fuel moistures, at least over Southern California, through early next week. Here's the latest 100-hour fuel graph for the southern mountains. You can see the big spike from our recent storm, and then the forecasted downtrend into next week. But like we've talked about, the big key now is we've finally gotten enough moisture into the soil to begin generating new grass growth and start increasing the live fuel moistures, which greatly reduces the risk of any significant fire concerns. If we were to see a prolonged dry spell, then some fire potential could re-emerge in the weeks ahead. But even just occasional light rainfall going forward, combined with what we just had, will keep our fire potential pretty minimal for a substantial time to come, as is typical this time of year. And so, while we may start to see some light initial attack with the warmer temperatures this weekend and early next week, all in all, there will be little or no significant fire activity across the region through the forecast period. That's it for today's webcast. Thanks for joining us. The next one will be on Thursday, January 30th.